I'll let you know when we're live. And then I'm going to share it out as well. Come on, connect. There we go. We should be live. All right. All right, let me get this shared out. Let me go full screen here. Let me go here. Let me just get this fired up. Guys, give us 1 second here as I get this shared out quick. And I'll introduce the guest. And we'll get into it. Boom. Let me mute this. Get this fired up. Let's shut this down. All right, guys. We'll give everybody a minute or two to get in here, but I'm going to get everything introduced, all you guys introduced to who we have. We have a special guest tonight. You are in depth with Defness45 right now. Our special guest is going to be none other than himself, Chris, also known as Popeye Plowman. How you doing tonight, brother?
Pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Hey, man, I can't complain. I'm actually going to tell you a little funny story before we get into it. So I had to actually reboot or restart my computer after I did the pre-stream tonight because when I did it, I had to actually physically like power my computer completely down, like hold the power button down because nothing would turn off. It was like everything was froze. So then I fired it back up to get ready to connect with you, and next thing you know, I had no webcam. Like my cam was off. It wouldn't power up. It has little blue lights. It tells me I'm on. And I pull up the OBS. And next thing you know, I see nothing but just the backgrounds like in no cam. And I'm like, oh great, this is perfect. This is exactly what this is the issue we're gonna run into. These are the problems we're already gonna have. But everything is good, man. We're here. So why don't we just start out real quick and just kind of introduce yourself. We already told them what your name is, but just tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of dive into some questions and take it from there.
Yeah, well, if anybody missed it, yeah, my name's Chris Plowman. I've been back in the hobby since about 2016 or so. Started off with Buck City Breaks, all off of a random video feed in my YouTube feed from Packer Cards 87. He suggested Buck City Breaks. Since then, I've been back in the hobby, just rolling deep. Trying to kick back on the breaks and stuff a lot lately. I'm more involved with what Tyler and KW and everybody does, and Jimmy Guns doing racks. Just trying to bring positivity to the hobby. And that's pretty much all I've been doing lately. You know, I don't do a whole lot of buying, breaks, stuff like that. Just trying to promote positivity. We started up 2020 strong. I'd like to see it continue to grow and keep going the way it is.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. And I know we'll get into it more tonight throughout the interview, but you've had a big impact, and you've already taken a big stance in what you're already trying to continue to push and promote. But I guess where I want to start with is I want to kind of go back and I want to ask you, Chris, like where did it all start for you when it comes to the hobby? Like, can you explain? Do you remember kind of your first encounter with sports cards / the hobby? You know, when you were younger, like what age that was? Was there a special moment or something that just kind of really connected you at that time in the hobby? Can you kind of dive in and explain?
Yeah, I was around 8 years old or so. My dad brought home, I believe it was a box set. I can't remember the year of it, but the ugliest baseball card known to man, the yellow set. He brought home the whole set of that, and then just started growing with football. So it started with, early 90s, mid 90s, football and baseball cards. I played sports growing up as a kid, so basketball at the time was my favorite hobby, my favorite sport. So I played a lot of basketball. I grew up with the dynasty of the Chicago Bulls with Jordan and Pippen and Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my huge collection at the time, the Chicago Bulls, and then Atlanta Braves were hot at the time. So that was my team growing up. And Dallas Cowboys in the '90s were hot. So that was my team. And that's how I stuck with my teams for the dominant teams at the time. Who I don't know, I just loved watching. I mean, who didn't enjoy watching MJ play? Um, I love John Smoltz, love pitchers for some reason. That's always been my favorite position. Um, Emmett Smith, even though Barry Sanders, I'll admit, is a better running back than Emmett. Emmett has that O line that was just ridiculous, and Emmett, he would abuse his body just to sell a good play, and I love that from him. So I collected all up until about junior high or so, until all the local shops around here started shutting down, and
Okay.
it's kind of hard to find cards here in town, and kind of got out of the hobby anyways. Growing up, high school, nobody really thinks about collecting cards. It's all about having fun and partying and stuff like that. So yeah, I had actually still have most of my collection from when I was a kid. Uh, None of it's worth anything, but it's got a sentimental value to me. Um, didn't really spend a lot of time with my dad, going through cards, but
Mm-hmm.
it was something I always had off to the side and loved looking through them. And every once in a while, I still go through them, just for old school memories, stuff like that. Just something to kind of get a smile on my face when I'm bored.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I think there's, and I bring this question up with every guest I have on here because obviously, I mean, we want to know more about, we want to find out some things about you that maybe people wouldn't even know, and I always feel like that's like one of those questions where like your first encounter experience per se with the hobby with the cards, it's actually it's very important for all of us because again, if maybe we didn't have that encounter, we would have never got into cards or got connected to the hobby as quick as maybe we had. So I appreciate it. I love the answer. I love the detail in it. So I know a lot more about you, but for the people out there that don't, there's something that really holds a special place, kind of in my heart in the hobby world per se. But your involvement with the kids in the hobby, I know we have it on hold right now, but you, Coker, his wife, your wife. I think Tim Hall was doing some stuff on the back end. He just didn't really make it known. He's kind of let me know that, which shout out to him for that as well. But you guys were the primary people around Cadority cards. And for people who don't know Cadority cards, I mean, Plowman can probably touch a little bit more on that. But I mean, tell us how did this even come about, or how did your involvement spark from that Cadority deal, and I guess ultimately, can you touch on the actual experience and kind of what it brought for you, things that you picked up by doing what you did with Cadority cards?
Yeah, so Cadordy started in the Buck City Breaks chat room for the most part. Uh, Jonathan Coker and his wife Sarah Brennan, uh, they they were always wanting to do something good for kids. Whether it was to brighten the kids' day because they had a bad day or they're being bullied, or send them a package for their birthday. And I just kind of jumped on that train with them. Said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. I'm more than willing to send something out. Care package to the kid. And the stronger our relationship got, the longer being around each other in the BCB chat room, we just started throwing around ideas. We started sending off birthday packages like Tim Lamon's kid, Richard Billings. You know, so we got the enjoyment that they would send us pictures back. The kids opening up their packages, big old smiles on their face, and that's what really kept us wanting to go further with Cadority cards. And at the time, we didn't have a name, so we spent some time, sat down. We brought in Tim Hall to help us with the name, David Miller, um, just people we kind of grew a really strong relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
that we wanted to be part of it. And kick around some ideas. Cadority cards is a play on words, pretty much. It's kids and priority. We like to make the kids a priority in the hobby.
Okay.
Kids are the future of the hobby.
Absolutely.
If kids don't collect now, the hobby's not going to exist.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
if we can't get the kids into the hobby and have them understand how the hobby works, then the hobby's not going to be there, but for people trying to flip and make money and turn it into something that's negative, and nobody wants to be around it anymore.
Right. And I think what's really important for everybody out there watching this now or watching this later, the amount of time that actually is involved with what they had to do behind the scenes. Like, so a lot of people would donate their base cards, would donate semi-star cards, people, because these packs were not just necessarily base cards. They would try to find someone that fit their PC, try to at least include some kind of card with that as well. So and all you were really paying for was the bubble mailer, the supplies, and the shipping. I mean, that's pretty much what this package would tail. It was pretty much a non-profit organization to put smiles on children's faces, but the amount of time that I'm sure is involved with sorting, getting these cards, because they weren't just taking a pile of cards and just going, okay, this one, put this in a team bag, label it, put the person's name on. No, they were actually going through and sorting these cards by teams, making sure the kids got whatever their team they PC'd, trying to add players that they PC'd into them. You guys, you don't realize how much time was actually devoted by these guys, by Plowman, by Coker, their wives, Tim Hall. They spent a lot of time, a lot of their own time doing that, and basically dedicating, donating their time for that. So again, I've probably said it before, but I need to say it again on air while I have you on here. Shout out to you, shout out to Coker, shout out to your wife, shout out to Tim. The program was awesome. I hope to see it come back again sometime soon for you guys. I think it can be something bigger than it ever was. But I realize that you guys probably need a couple more hands to help you guys, so that it's not all 100% put on you. You guys trying to, the 4 of you or 5 of you trying to get all these cards sorted, thousands and thousands and thousands of sports cards, and get these packages sent out. But where do you think? Do you see this thing coming back like anytime soon? Is it? Do you think it's just a lost cause by now, or it's done, or do you feel like maybe this will be coming back?
Oh no, we definitely plan on bringing it back. As far as a little bit about my situation with my wife being sick, so we kind of put stuff on hold on my end, and then Sarah, well, she's in the hospital right now, possibly gonna have their kid tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been pregnant, so kind of keeping the stress. And Coker's been working, 6+ days a week. I work 6+ days a week, so having the time to really put the energy and effort into creating a package for the kids just really isn't there right now. Plus,
Right.
it was getting a little stale and stagnant. Stuff was kind of slowing down. We were sitting on a ton of cards. We want to kind of freshen it up, bring in some new ideas, find ways to get more cards, into the kids' hands. Maybe some more giveaways, come up with some games, some challenges or something. Just try to come up with some new ideas to freshen it up a little bit and get not just the kids involved, but the parents with the kids involved.
Sure.
Because we all think that's a big part of the hobby with the kids is if you can get the parents to collect with the kids and they're both doing it together, it creates a great bond between the parent and the kid. They have something they can be excited about and grow upon. So, that's what we want to see grow. And hopefully when everything settles down between the two households, we can get back to doing what we enjoyed doing for, the year that we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And go from there.
That's what I love to hear. And for you guys that don't know, this Cadorti kids thing was pretty big. They were actually they had a table that was I believe paid for by Upper Deck or someone at the actual national for this Cadorti cards thing. So they had a lot of big people in the hobby that were actually backing them. So, this wasn't some small little, just a couple of guys starting something and it's no big deal. This was actually kind of a, with around the U.S. thing, and there was a lot of people that started to recognize, a lot of big card companies that started donating things and started throwing extra product in to help support this. So again, one more time, I want to say thank you. Shout out to all you guys, man, because like you said, you hit it right on the head, man. This hobby ultimately is about the kids. Like you said, if the kids aren't into it, if there's not kids that continue to love cards and get into it, at some point this hobby just flat out dies out. I mean, we're not going to all live forever. We can't continue to carry the hobby forever. There's going to be a time in our lives probably where things slow down for us as far as what we do for the cards and the hobby. So these kids are ultimately our future, and that's why, a lot of us get upset when we see pack searchers and things like that in these retail stores, because you're ruining an excitement and a chance for a child. Not necessarily that they're going to hit a big card all the time, but if you're taking away all these cards that they could possibly get in a pack they open up, which would just make them super excited, be the best thing for them in a while, probably to open their own pack of cards and pull some big hit or something. I mean, guys, we need to think about some of that stuff. And I guess I tailed on retail a little bit. I ask all my guests this. Do you have any certain thoughts on like retail product versus hobby product? I mean, is there a stance you are higher on from one to the other, or I mean, obviously we would all prefer, probably all of us would prefer hobby if we could always buy it, but do you feel like where do you see retail, just cards in general, retail versus hobby?
Well, retail is pretty much the biggest thing I got here in town. The only card shop I have doesn't have anything newer for a hobby, so everything I do is retail. Of course, yeah, I do prefer hobby mainly because the hits are more common. Yeah, but it's all the same to me. It's the excitement of cracking a pack, what you're gonna find. I've hit some pretty big cards out of retail, not as often as you would hobby, but you hit that one big card. I think the excitement's a little bit higher with retail because you're not expecting it. You're not expecting to get a big hit, or a super short print of a card or a big name. Now what's going on with retail right now with everybody buying up and selling, that's a completely different story. And like you were saying, pack searchers and people clearing out stores, it takes away from the kids.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. It's not that I don't care about people trying to get their hustle on and make their money. People are going to do that. I'm not going to knock them for doing it. I'm just not going to buy from them.
Right.
But when you start taking stuff away from kids, when they're just looking to buy something that's cheap because they can't afford hobby or they don't even know anything about hobby, it's kind of a bummer. It gets me a little upset when I see stuff like that posted all over Twitter.
Right.
But not everybody thinks that way. Most people either don't have kids or they just don't care. They're just looking to make a profit.
Right.
So, but either or, it's money wise, it's cheaper for me to do retail. But if I'm really searching or hunting for a PC card, I would have to go hobby.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that'd be most people's answer, but I think you also hit it pretty clear. The ultimate boom when you pull one out of retail, I think, is, like you said, a lot crazier and bigger because it's way less expected, right? It's way less expected to get a big hit or a big boom card out of a retail box. And I guess I've been seeing a lot of that, like especially with like this heritage baseball. In fact, myself, I just pulled a Tatis missing signature out of one of those little $6 hanger pack deals. And I've heard other people say the same thing. They've had better luck than buying blasters. And if the blasters would have been there, I would have honestly bought blasters and I would have missed out on that. So I'm glad I didn't. Let's dive in. Let's go back a little bit. So you do have some military background, correct?
Yes, I do.
You want to touch on it a little bit?
Yes, United States Air Force, 305 Maintenance Squadron out of McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey. Started out there in survival equipment, which means I packed parachutes, life preservers, life rafts for all the cargo planes that were on the base, the KC-10s, C-140s, 135s, Our nickname is Stitch Bitch because we learned how to sew. So
Nice.
that was our nickname. That was my side hustle back in the day, was stitching guys' patches onto the uniforms for beer money.
Nice.
So um, didn't care for being in New Jersey. That place, all we had was a bowling alley, a tattoo shop, and woods off base. So there's
Wow.
nothing, and giant groundhogs. So not the greatest place to be in. Traffic is crazy out there. It sucks. I hated the turnpike and the jug handles, and it just was horrible. But I did go in pre 9/11. Um, when I got to my tech school in Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas, that's when 9/11 hit. And then shortly after tech school, within a few months, I was shipped out to New Jersey, which was kind of uh, a scary time. You know, I went to go see Ground Zero. Um, it's nothing like seeing that up front instead of on TV or something like that. When you see that giant hole in the ground, and there was still debris in the trees, and all you see is a 4 block line of people standing there paying money to get in to see Ground Zero for 30 seconds to take pictures. You know, and there's people slinging merchandise on the corners. You know, somebody's always trying to find a way to profit off of,
Oh yeah.
of a horrible time like people are right now. It's just anytime something bad happens, people, trying to find a way to make a quick buck.
Yep.
So a lot of that hit real hard with me being in the military. Um, I enjoyed my time. You know, I quickly transferred over to be SP, or most people say MP, as a cop. So we were stationed with the Army, Fort Dix. So I was part of being in control of checking all the vehicles coming in and out of the base that were not military. So all civilian vehicles, and you find a lot of interesting things in the cabs of trucks. uh, Things I wish I'd never seen, and some things are just funny and great stories.
Right.
So, but having that sense of that terror built up in you every time you see a car come on base that fits a description of some a car that somebody's looking for or a person's looking for. There's nothing quite like it.
Right.
Your senses are heightened, but at the same time, you're afraid you're going to freeze if you need to do something. We had a couple of times where vehicles came on base, and they ask you right up front, okay, if this vehicle comes on base and they don't stop, are you willing to shoot?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you can sit there and say, yeah, that's all you want. You think you can,
Right.
but until you get in that situation, and then you just kind of freeze up.
Yep.
It's a scary situation to be in. I can only imagine how the guys felt over, during the war,
Yeah.
and actually being in the action, or driving in a Hummer and getting hit with an IED or something like that.
Right.
Luckily, all my friends I know who were in the military came back fine with all their digits. Um, None of them that I know of have PTSD, but I know several others who do have PTSD, and it's something hard to deal with.
Right.
It's hard to sit there and talk to somebody and help them, because that's not something that's real easy to fix or help with. It takes a lot of therapy, a lot of patience, and a lot of people on their side trying to help somebody out.
Right.
Um, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I was a young, dumb kid when I went in. Wish I'd have done some things different, but it is what it is. I'm a better person for at least doing that, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
And you do, and I like how you say that. You tail it off by saying you're a better person. That's kind of what I was gonna lean into here a little bit. What do you feel ultimately the military helped you or helped in developing you as the person you are today? Like, is there certain things that stick out from the experience itself at hand that kind of stick out that make you maybe morally or just how you carry yourself or just kind of the good, cool, good, big-hearted person that you are, man? Like, was there certain things that that you gained while you were in the military that kind of formed that?
Definitely, there are pros and cons for being in the military. Before I went in the military, I was a very quiet, shy, passive kid. That changed once I went in the military. You're bunked up with 40 some odd guys. You keep getting in trouble for something somebody else did. After a while, it kind of wears on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a temper a little bit from the military. But at the same time, I learned how to become a leader, not a follower.
Right.
Being a shy, passive person, I was more of a follower for most of my life than I was a leader. So I definitely learned how to take charge, and I always did as much as I could when I was in the military to try to be a leader
Right.
and try to be somebody who was supportive and somebody who was willing to go that extra mile to help anybody else out. Um, I was the underwear fairy, I was the bed fairy, I was the shirt fairy for a lot of the guys, which means if one of the guys in my squad couldn't fold their shirts or their underwear properly or make their bed properly, I was the one who helped them out. Um, mainly because if they didn't have their stuff in right, we'd all get in trouble. So it was kind of a COA on my end, but at the same time, I didn't want to see anybody else fail.
Right.
And that's how I am now when I work. I'm a supervisor where I work, and I got a small crew out there now. So if I don't have what I'm supposed to take care of in line, and I don't have all my shit figured out, then I'm setting myself and my crew up to fail.
Gotcha.
So I need to know what I'm doing, relate to my guys, and help them out with whatever they need. So that's probably the biggest thing I took out of it. Um, I still have the mentality a little bit of the military. Became a little OCD, which is good and bad at the same time. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to certain things, a lot more than I was back then.
Yeah.
I get real tedious with a lot of small projects. Anytime I'm building something or working on something, I'm very OCD. So, I mean, but I think that helps me out in the long run too. I take my time with stuff. I analyze it. I think about it a lot more instead of just kind of breezing through stuff and just, saying, okay, that's good enough, and then
Right.
walking off to something else.
All right.
So,
Well, again, another thank you. Thank you for your services, man. I mean, it takes a lot for someone to go in the military. My daughter, she a lot of you guys already know, but she's going in the National Guard. It's not quite as extreme or quite as big, but we just had to cancel our trip. Actually, we're going to Cali, San Diego. I just had to cancel it today because she just got word that she cannot travel, being that she's already enlisted in the Guard. They're putting an axe on any traveling, so they don't get any there's nothing or whatnot. So here's what I want to kind of take maybe a left turn, if you will, or so, because I know you put it on here, so I figured you wouldn't have an issue bringing it up a little bit or talking about it. But me and you, probably besides the hobby, have a very similar, very common interest in the sense of struggles with addiction, really.
yeah.
And I know you've been clean for many years, some time, but do you want to kind of, I mean, do you want to take a little bit and talk about it and kind of talk about, whatever you want to bring up as far as what you've dealt with, and where it's kind of put you where you are today? Again, experiences, things maybe you've been able to take away from or learn from. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I was an addict for a long time with drugs, drug of choice, mainly for here in Bakersfield because it's so huge here is crank. Um, I got into a bad way with it right out of high school for quite some time. Um, I spent a lot of my time pretty much uh, bouncing around from house to house, because they're getting popped and raided and shut down. Um, you know, that took over my life for a long time, and that was one of the main reasons why I went into the military was to escape it because I knew if I didn't do something to get out of this town, I was either going to die or I was going to end up in jail or just be wandering the streets. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I went in the military. But yeah, it turned into having fun, skipping school, smoking weed, hanging out with the friends, to dramatically and just drastically changing to something hard and letting it run, just take over my life.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very highly addictive personality. Like, it doesn't take much for me to get addicted to something. Like this, like cards.
Right.
It did take long for the hobby to kind of take over my life with collecting. So um, yeah, so that took a big chunk of my, not big chunk of my life, but several years of my life pretty much away from me that I wish I could get back. Went into the military, got out, stayed clean for a little bit, but ultimately fell back into it, hanging out with people I shouldn't have hung out with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think I really straightened up until I found out my ex-wife was pregnant with our first daughter. So I kicked the drugs, but then I found another vice in alcohol. Alcohol was a big problem of mine in the military for a while, and up until about 6 years ago or so. I'm a horrible drunk, uh, but I would drink anything and everything until I couldn't drink anymore. I would go on blackout sessions. I'd lose time. Got into a lot of fights. Been arrested. Uh, didn't do a whole lot of time, so that was good. But I was kind of violent. Lots of jobs, several jobs, uh, but just having, hearing from your family, my father, my ex-wife, even my wife now, that they're disappointed in you. I don't think you can hear anything worse from anybody
Mm-hmm.
than them saying that they're disappointed in you and they don't trust you, and to try to fight back from that and gain everybody's trust and show everybody that you can handle what you're supposed to handle. You can be a trustworthy person. You can be a dependable person. It's hard.
Right.
Um, Even though I've been sober for quite some, I mean, I might drink a couple beers here and there, but I've got to the point now where I know what my limits are. I know how to control it. I know what I can and can't drink. I know what situations not to put myself into to get,
Mm-hmm.
drunk or get back on the drugs or anything like that.
Right.
But it's an everyday constant struggle, no matter if I'm thinking about it or not. It's
Mm-hmm.
an addiction that'll never go away.
Yep.
All you have to do is put yourself in one bad situation, and you could turn years of sobriety and just throw it away.
Yep. Yep. One day it takes one time, one opportunity,
Yeah,
and
that's all it takes.
one thing too, I guess I wanna ask you, because I know this made a big change or impact on my relationship with like my kids with what I went through, but this show is about you. Do you feel like do you feel like though like do you feel like once they knew about it, and once the I'm disappointed and this and that came out, and once you started, you basically told them because you wanted to get yourself better, you were reaching out for help, do you feel like it do you feel like it brought you closer? Do you feel like the connection between anybody and everybody involved within your family, friends, whoever was closest to you, who you could still consider a friend, I guess. Do you feel
Mhm.
like that ultimately brought you closer once you taken those steps and wanting to get better, and people knowing, really about what you were going through, and your addictions?
It took time, because being a drug addict and an alcoholic, you say that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna stop doing it.
Right.
After a while, people stop listening and don't take your word anymore. So it definitely took quite a bit of time for them to really understand that I was changing, try to make myself better.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, yeah, it made my relationship with my father stronger. My wife and I have a great relationship now. Even my ex-wife and I have a really great relationship. A lot of my friends who were around me when I was doing a lot of this stuff see where I'm at now, and they definitely like me a lot more now. They trust me more now,
Mm-hmm.
and they believe in me a lot more now than anybody else. And even the company I work for uh, put a lot more trust and faith in me now than they would have if I was when I was drinking and everything. So me taking that leap and that plunge into sobriety and trying to better myself has definitely made my relationship stronger with everybody around me.
Plowman, do you also feel like, I mean, there's a lot of us you hear, like, between us having our kids and between the hobby saving us from our addiction and everything else, do you feel like that connection with the hobby in general, the community, the people within it, do you feel like that's a that's a strong help, or that just having that sense of that hobby that you're involved in, do you feel like that's a big help in your everyday push to stay sober and stay clean? You know what I mean? You know where I'm going with
Yeah.
this? Do you feel like the
Yeah.
hobby and the community in general, do you feel like it's been a big help? Like you hear a lot of people say, like I've said personally and other people have. Do you feel like that's been a big help in your, staying within your recovery?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's something that keeps your mind focused on what you're doing at the time. So if you're thumbing through cards, or you're in a break, or you're just in a chat room for something like this, or it keeps your mind off things. It keeps your mind, focused on a completely different subject. You don't have those thoughts of wanting to go out because you're bored. And, I'm kind of bored. Wish I'd go have a drink, or sitting there dwelling on the stresses of life.
Right.
And like what I used to use it for, especially drinking, was to drown my sorrows. I don't want to think about what I'm thinking about. So if I just get drunk, I won't think about it anymore. So not dwelling in the everyday stresses of life and depression and stuff like that, because that's what killed me with addiction. So having something that's positive and something that's fun keeps your hands busy, keeps your mind busy, it gets you to interact with people that you never thought you'd interact before. You're making new friendships. It gives you a sense of purpose and self worth, uh, being in this hobby, I believe. Especially if
Mm-hmm.
you make a lot of friends who are help you out and you help others out.
Yep.
It's I think it's great therapy for a lot of people. I believe as long as you're not one of those who, if you don't fixate on the negatives of your life,
Right.
then it's a great therapy. I believe is this hobby.
And I know you may go back and watch this after. I know you're not able to really see chat right now. I'm just kind of seeing it on my phone, as I can't really see much of it
Okay.
either. But there's a lot of people out there like saying, man, they're proud of you. Big ups to you. So I just want you to know, like, there's a lot of people within this hobby that support you, that probably help you in your everyday, that they may not even realize what they're actually helping you with just by being there and being a hobby member. But yeah, as well, I just want to make sure that I say, kudos to you, man. Congratulations on your sobriety. And again, I'm in the same boat you are. It's an everyday struggle. There isn't. It's not just because we're clean for X amount of years that we're just everything's by the bayside. And like you said, we could
Yeah.
one situation, one thing, one bar we decide to go to instead of going home or going to the movie with friends, just a movie instead of to the bar, that one time could be the time that brings everything back that we've worked so hard to overcome. So it's an
Exactly.
everyday process struggle. Anybody out there that is addicted or have gone through addiction, you guys know exactly what we're saying and what we're talking about. And I don't want to get too deep or too personal, and this is completely up to you if you want to answer this or not. But since we're on this part of this within your life and this addiction, did you wanna say or talk about it all? I mean, I don't know how personal or how big it is. Was there a certain thing that really drove you to your addiction? Like, was there a childhood thing, like, with a parent, with a friend, with a family member? Was there something that usually there's some kind of situation or something that takes us down the path where, like you said, we want to drink away our pain, our sorrows, whatever we're feeling and going through. Was there something particular, specific, that kind of drove you there, or was it more just, hey, I'm a dumb young kid, like you said earlier, I'm hanging out with all these people, there's not a lot else to do, and I just kind of got caught up in it?
No, I mean addiction does run in my family. My father did go to rehab. I saw a lot of horrible things when my dad was an addict. Cops being called, weapons, threat of suicide, stuff like that. But I don't think that really played a big part in why I was an addict. Like I said, I was a young dumb kid. So before military, like I said, I was a follower, not a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends were doing it. I was gonna do it. So that's how it started off with, at least with the drugs, was just being a follower and a young dumb kid. Alcohol is what I use as a tool to forget everything that I didn't want to think about.
Right.
Whether it was a bad relationship I was in, all the stress and BS that's going on at work, or just trying to. I didn't even want to think about responsibilities at the time of what I should and shouldn't be doing and taking care of. I just felt better if I drank.
Right.
It made me feel better to drink and be drunk and not have all those thoughts in my head of stuff that normal people think about and take care of on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily one specific thing in my past or, happened with my family. Yeah, a lot of jacked up stuff happened up with my parents, but I don't really think it played a part in becoming the addict that I was.
Okay.
So it started out being a young dumb kid, and then just progressing into trying to drown my own sorrows of the mess I created myself.
Gotcha. I can respect that. All right. Um, for those of you that don't know, when we are done with this in-depth with Defness interview with our boy Popeye Plowman, who I appreciate you popping on tonight to do this, he is going to be having a card auction. Do you want to talk about? You want to talk a little about? I mean, there's not a lot, obviously, to explain of a card auction. A lot of people know about them, but do you want to talk about kind of your plans, like moving forward? Are you gonna have a set thing where you're gonna be doing weekly? Is there or monthly or every couple weeks? Do you want to kind of explain to everybody watching, where they're gonna be able to find you? I do, by the way, guys, as every guest in here. Down below, you can find his links, both his Twitter, so make sure you go follow him if you don't already, and his YouTube page, so you can subscribe to him if you already haven't. But you want to dive in a little bit to what we have going on tonight and what your plans are going forward, I guess, within the hobby.
Yeah, definitely want to start trying to do an auction once a week. Right now, planning on Mondays. Uh, we'll see how that goes. Days may change during the week. I was kind of doing Wednesdays here and there, but the plan right now is every Monday, every week, starting at 5:30. Um, yeah, mine are pretty simple as of right now. Just putting up cards for auction. I don't do a whole lot of giveaways yet. I kind of trying to build up so I can have something for giveaways. But I'll end up doing something similar to what Eloy does or Jimmy Guns does. Um, having small little giveaways here and there. Always welcome to do, you know, guys getting together, doing something big for somebody in the hobby or somebody in the hobby family. Um, so yeah, just pretty much every week I'm gonna try to do that. Also, I'm slowly but surely getting further and further into the hobby. Kind of took a hiatus for a while, but now that I'm getting back into it, I've thought about doing a little bit more content with mail days or just random talks about what I feel about what's going on in the hobby or news and stuff like that, in sports and stuff like that. So eventually I'll get to stuff like that, but haven't really built anything up for that yet.
And I respect that. And like I've kind of said to anybody out there that has a YouTube channel that does any kind of content, now is the time for all of us. Eloy, Jimmy, I've said this to you guys, anybody that's doing breaks, Buck City breaks more than maybe they are right now, and they already do a lot. But all of us stepping up, because really this is our pastime now, guys. We don't have any sports to fall back on. Yes, again, I bring it up in other streams. You can go on Netflix and watch a movie, but where are you going to go to Netflix, watch a movie, and be able to get all the interaction with 20, 30, 40 people, whatever, however many people come in at a time, and be able to check up on and chat with and kick the BS with and just have a good time, maybe bust a couple jokes, make each other laugh. So I like the idea of hearing you doing more content on top of just your mail days. And guys, when he's talking 5:30, just to be clear, he's Pacific time, so if you're like Central time, that would be like 7:30. You know, if you're Eastern time, that would be 8:30, I guess, right? Am I doing my time
Yes.
zones right? Yeah. So, like again, so he would pretty much be going on like this is a late in depth for Defness on a Monday night. He'd be going on like a little after me. Typically, I'd go on at 5:30 or 6 my time, so I'd be done by 6:37 my time, which would be before he would even be live. So you pretty much most Monday nights you're going to get like an in-depth with Defness, and then you're pretty much going to have Plowman on sometime there shortly after, going live with auctions, which is going to be awesome. And I, again, Plowman, I respect you, man. I thank you for your service. I respect your past. I respect what you've gone through with your addiction and where you're at with your sobriety. I can tell, man, because I met you at the National, and we
Mm-hmm.
all met up at Coker's place where he was doing a thing, and I think you had opportunities to be at other places, even though you wanted to be. But I think now that I go back and I think about that, I understand why now, and I understand it wasn't against anyone or nobody that at this place or that. It was none of that. It was simply you looking out for your best interest, and you have to
Yes.
respect that more than anything else, man. Like big ups to you. I'm trying to think. We got a couple more minutes here. Does anybody in chat right now? I can read off chat. Does anybody have any questions for Plowman or anything specific they want to ask him? We didn't get a chance to do this with Tyler because we ran basically to an hour. We got a few minutes to maybe ask him a few questions. Oh, I know one question I saw Balls pull up earlier. He said, "Ask Plowman about his drawing." Does that ring a
Oh, okay.
bell? Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I do draw. That's one of the things I do every once in a while time. I did a drawing of the Black Widow. I did it as a giveaway for Todority. Um, so we did a giveaway, and whatever kid won got to pick whatever character or anything they wanted, and I would draw it. So I drew Black Widow with the whole background of the city and everything for his kid, and it turned out pretty sick. It took me a little bit. It was probably one of the biggest drawings I've done in a long time. I've been working on a Venom drawing lately. Uh, haven't had time to really finish that up, but no, I love to draw. It's when I have the time to do it because it's something I need to sit down for a few hours if I'm going to do it.
Yep.
I get real, like I said, it's one of my OCD things where if I'm drawing, everything's got to be perfect. So it takes me a while to do a drawing. I do a lot of erasing, but no, I love to draw. I'm not the greatest artist, but I've been doing it for a long time. I have my daughter, my 13-year-old. She loves to paint and draw, so she follows my footsteps. She's very, very talented at doing it too. So yeah.
Awesome. You know what? I guess I kind of overwent something here else to touch on. So besides cards, what other hobbies do you have, Plowman?
Okay, I'm huge on Popeye. Case in point, my screen name Popeye Plow. Um, I just love the saying. I have it tattooed on me. I am what I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very powerful message. Just be who you are. Um, with flaws or not, I accept me for me. I don't apologize for being who I am to anybody because I I deal with myself, and I love that saying. I always loved it since I was a kid. A very strong, powerful figure is Popeye, and the cartoons were just great to watch. Let's see what else. I can't even remember what I said before when I emailed you.
Well, you got
No,
something.
yeah, art.
Yeah, building with something else, like, or like something we would
Oh,
build houses and stuff with, doing some stuff with.
yeah. No, I love working on stuff, whether it be cars, motorcycles, or anything at work. I've always been a mechanic of sorts since I was a kid. I got into woodworking a few years ago. Built a big uh, farm style dining table for my wife. Um, Built some frames and stuff like that, which I need to work on some more. She's been harping at me. Uh, but that's another one of those things that it takes time to do. that's enjoyable. I didn't realize how enjoyable and soothing it was until I started making the table for. But just being outside with some old school tools and just having something pictured in your head and just going with the flow. It's soothing, it's relaxing, and just see the final product when you're done is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've always tried to find something to keep me busy, keep my hands busy, and keep my mind busy. My mind's always racing 24/7. I can't shut the dang thing off. I don't sleep much because of it. But at the same time, I come up with a lot of great ideas for what I want to do around the house or work or in the hobby. So it's a gift and a curse at the same time.
All right. So before we wrap this thing up, and then we can get you fired up for your card auction tonight. What I guess with the times we're in right now, what kind of advice do you have to all of our fellow hobbyists, all of our viewers out there, someone that's watching now or gonna watch later? What kind of advice would you give them right now? Kind of in the state of mind we're all in the uncharted waters we are in right now. What would you tell people? What kind of advice would you like to give them?
Just stay focused on you and your family. Don't don't let what's going on in this whole world uh, give up make you give up on what you've been working for your whole life. Um, stay focused on what your final goal is for your life. Like me, I'm always trying to improve and better myself so I can improve and better my family. I don't lose sight of that or focus on that. Don't let what you hear in the news or from other people sway your decisions on what you wanted to do in life. Um, I think a lot of what's going on right now is people are buying into all the hype, and that's a hype, but they're thinking of the worst case scenario, and they're not really, and they're trying to prepare for it, but at the same time they're losing focus on what they were starting to do day in day out in the first place. Everybody's kind of getting a little anxious, and things are going to get worse before they get better. That's just how it's going
Right.
to happen. But don't lose sight of what you do every day. Just I love the migrant kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think too much about stuff, because if you do, you're going to end up making a mistake.
Right.
So
Yeah, man. Hey, that's a good message, and I'm gonna say I think what he was basically saying too is don't lose sight or focus on what is actually important,
yes,
and that's your family. That's things you enjoy doing. That's hanging out in these anybody's streams, people you enjoy to be in streams. Don't lose connection with people either. That's what I keep trying to tell people. Stay connected, and actually stay connected with even your neighbors, not even just people within the hobby, your neighbors. Just keep a good communication going with each other. And like you said, not that you want to say it's hype, not that you want to say whatever, but like preparing for the worst, maybe to some people it's not the worst idea, but at the same time, sometimes we overdo things, and then we start losing this. We start taking our sights off of what's really most important right now. What's What's
exactly.
most important right now? What's most important tomorrow? Not 3 weeks from now. We're gonna just have to wait and see where whatever's at in 3 weeks. I mean, that when that time comes, that time comes. But
Yeah.
man, I want to say it's been a pleasure having you on. I want to thank you for actually coming on In Depth with Defness and being a guest. I enjoyed it. I feel like I got to know you even a little bit better. Knowing you for a while now. I hope the other people out there, the viewers watching now, watch later, enjoy it as well. I hope, honestly, I want success for you within these card auctions. I hope that you start doing more content as well, because I think it'll be good for you and it'll be good for everybody involved, anybody in the hobby. Guys, this is Chris Popeye Plowman. Again, down below you can find the links for his Twitter page as well as his YouTube page. He is going to be doing a card auction right after we get off here, I believe. I think he's going to fire it up pretty much right when we're done. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably a few minutes right after we get
Yeah,
done.
so I mean, it won't be like probably exact. He's got to set up a few minutes, but I want to thank you guys for joining tonight. Again, this has been another episode of In Depth with Defness. Everybody stay safe, stay connected, and stay positive. We'll see y'all soon. Good night. Peace.
Yeah, good night.